I suggest we start on time. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our distinguished gathering focusing on the EU and Western Balkans today, organized by the Faculty of Social Sciences, University of Ljubljana, representation of the European Commission in Slovenia, and the newly established think tank Friends of Western Balkans. It's an honor to have such an esteemed diplomatic corps and VIPs here today as we engage in vital discussion on the future of the region. The Western Balkan holds immense significance geopolitically and economically, and today's roundtable presents a unique opportunity for us to exchange insights, share perspectives, and explore collaborative solutions. Thank you for your participation and commitment to this important dialogue. Let me now introduce our speakers. I'll talk more about them later on, but first, Ms. Radmila Šekerinska, among many things, the former Minister of Defense of the Republic of North Macedonia, Mr. Boris Tadić, former President of the Republic of Serbia, and Mr. Borut Pahor, the former President of the Republic of Slovenia and founder and director of the think tank Friends of Western Balkans. Let us begin, and I'm honored to invite Professor Andreja Jaklič, the Vice Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences and the head of the research program Slovenia and its actors in international relations and European integration, to offer a few words. Please.
Thank you. Dear Dr. Jug Jerše, dear panelists, Mr. Boris Pahor, Ms. Radmila Šekerinska, Ms. Boris Tadić, Excellencies and distinguished guests, it's a pleasure to welcome you to this event. 20 years after the Big Bang of the EU enlargement is a moment to celebrate Slovenia's achievements and progress over the last 2 decades, but also a moment to reflect on the Slovenian integration experience and the future of the EU, especially about the future of enlargement and process and the role of the EU in the global economy. The members of our research program have been working on this topic since the 90s, when Slovenia was preparing to join the EU. And the program researchers contributed to EU enlargement by participating in a number of important analyses that were crucial for Slovenian integration into the EU. They prepared analytical basis for the national strategies and policies, such as Slovenian development strategy. They monitored progress in impact on integration in the area of internationalization, foreign direct investment, innovation, international law and human rights. They evaluated policy implementation, industrial policy, innovation policy, smart specialization strategy, and they pointed out to future opportunities. The Western Balkans have always been seen as an opportunity for the EU. Our researchers are currently analyzing the changes in the multipolar world, the impact of populism, the developments of the European industrial sector, the green and digital transformation, and also the enlargement scenario. As researchers, we are never short of theoretical arguments in favor of European integration. However, our analysis often highlighted the complexity and the new risks of integration and enlargement process. The reluctance may be due to practical arguments, insufficient information and experience necessary for policy making, unrealized opportunities, and unfulfilled expectations. This is why the discussion between academic experts, policymakers, managers, and practitioners is so important. It can strengthen the exchange of knowledge and advice necessary for policy making, and it can be a source of new ideas necessary for exploring theoretical options and practical solutions. The debate on EU enlargement is crucial at a time of a global uncertainty. The need to think together about the path of enlargement has been triggered by the pandemic and the war in Ukraine. But the current period of geoeconomic fragmentation makes the question of enlargement and the factors that have made such change institutionally and politically possible even more relevant. Therefore, I think that today's panel with Professor Verčič can contribute substantially to understanding why the enlargement of the EU to the Western Balkan is so important for future stability and development of the European Union. I wish you a lively and fruitful debate, and thank you very much for hosting us in the House of the EU.
Professor Jaklič, and I'm honored to invite Dr. Jerneja Jug Jerše, the head of the representation of the European Commission in Slovenia, to share her introductory remarks. Please.
Hvala lepa. Lepo pozdravljeni v hiši EU. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, excellencies, it is a great pleasure that I can welcome you today here in the House of the European Union, and especially distinguished guests, in particular former President Borut Pahor, former President of Republic of Slovenia, of course, former President of Republic of Serbia, Mr. Boris Tadić, and former Defense Minister of North Macedonia, Ms. Radmila Šekerinska. As already said, this year marks a significant milestone for Slovenia as we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Slovenia's accession to the European Union. And in these 2 decades, Slovenia has reaped numerous benefits from EU membership, paving the way for continued growth and prosperity for generations to come. Let me quote President von der Leyen from Bled Strategic Forum. She said, "Our friends from the Western Balkans are part of our European family. The Danube, the Adriatic, and the Balkan Mountains have always been a link, never a border. Our economies are tied together after centuries of trade and travel, so prosperity in the Balkans depends entirely on their integration with the rest of Europe." End of quote. At this occasion, I would like to commend Slovenia and especially President Pahor for their unwavering support for the countries of the Western Balkans on their journey towards EU accession, so that in time they can too share the benefits of our common project. Just last week, the European Commission proposed opening EU accession talks with Bosnia and Herzegovina, recognizing the country's commitment to reforms and European values. And I hope that Bosnia and Herzegovina will soon join its fellow candidate countries, North Macedonia and Serbia, which are already engaged in negotiations with the Commission. Enlargement to the EU, enlargement of the EU to include the Western Balkans holds immense promise, particularly in bringing stability to the region during these turbulent times. It is imperative that we continue to foster dialogue and cooperation to ensure a prosperous and secure future for all nations involved. And further, I'm extremely delighted to have former President Tadić and former Minister Šekerinska with us, whose proven reform credentials serve as invaluable assets. And we eagerly anticipate their insights and advice as we navigate the path towards EU enlargement. Thank you very much, especially Professor Verčič also and the Faculty of Social Sciences for your dedication and efforts in organizing these events. And let us engage in constructive dialogue as we explore the opportunities and challenges of EU enlargement and work towards a shared vision of a more united and stronger European Union. Thank you very much.
Well, before we proceed further, I have to make a disclosure. Mr. Pahor here is a graduate of the Faculty of Social Sciences. He graduated in Political Sciences and International Relations, and we share a common experience as we were classmates, so to be on the safe side. So I've disclosed that. Now, let me tell you how our conversation will unfold today. We'll start with some questions which I will ask to our esteemed guests, and then I will open the floor also for questions from the audience. And let us start now. I would like to start with you, Ms. Šekerinska. Now, in 2004, you served as acting Prime Minister of North Macedonia twice, actually, that year. And a year later, as Deputy Prime Minister responsible for European integrations, you negotiated North Macedonia's status as a candidate country for EU accession. Additionally, in 2020, as Minister of Defense, you facilitated North Macedonia's entry into NATO. So the question that is here on everybody's mind is, when can we expect you bring North Macedonia to the EU?
Well, thank you very much first for the invitation, President Pahor, and to all of you who have organized this event. When you go back through the memory lane, it reminds me of an episode that we had in 2004, 2005. We have had a bunch of Macedonian, just graduated youngsters who joined the administration. They all went to great schools in Europe and the US. They were all very enthusiastic, myself including. And we all had this really crazy plan that, okay, we work hard. The salaries are, well, not really very good. But in a few years, once we negotiate, once we finish the accession process, then we all go to work for the European Commission, in European Parliament. We all had it set in stone. We were joined by a great team of Slovenian experts, administrators, ministers, who were very helpful in making this first quantum leap towards accession talks. I see these people still in Skopje, most of them abroad. All of them are working either for international organizations, European companies. Very few have stayed in Skopje. And I tell them, listen, my goal for the Commission, the Parliament is gone. The only thing that I can aspire for is maybe one day joining the leadership of the Senior European Association. Because unfortunately, time has not worked for us. And this is actually part of the problem. Whenever we have had our ups and downs as a country, and whenever I'm asked, how can you still be optimistic about the European future of your country, I usually say, well, if you're in politics in the Balkans, you're either an optimist or you're already dead. So I did not have a choice. And it's true that, to a certain extent, the last year gave some optimism to pro-enlargement individuals, both within the EU and within the region. If you analyze numbers, a few years ago we had just 3 countries in accession talks. This year we have 7, hopefully even 8. You can see that enlargement has become trendy, sexy again in certain circles. Even EU public mood has changed. And for the first time, we have had actually more support for enlargement, bigger than before the 2004 Big Bang. But on the other side, if we look at the last country in the club, which was Croatia, Croatia was negotiating for 6 years prior to membership. I don't want to look at Turkey, but even if you analyze Serbia and Montenegro, they have been negotiating for 10, 11, 12 years almost. And we are still, more or less, if you analyze the reports for North Macedonia and for them, no dramatic change. So in a way, the big fear that I have is that we have all become used to enlargement being there, being politically relevant still, but being a never-ending story. And this is why, for the first time, not in all the countries in the region, but for North Macedonia, this is very new, EU has lost the leverage, it has lost its influence, it has lost its power muscle. And I tend to see this as a... yes, and most of it is not due to the war in Ukraine or the energy prices. Most of the people who are now critical towards the EU, they don't see an alternative. They're not naive, they're not stupid, but they have lost the confidence that this is feasible. Words lost their meaning. You know, I think these were the words of an ancient Greek philosopher. I hope Greeks won't mind this time. Just a joke. Our relations are really good. but because of this trend, I see the impetus for reform. I see what used to work a few years ago not being very, very powerful. I used to be a deputy prime minister in charge of European integration, and it used to be such a strong post in our governments. Not because of me or some of my colleagues, actually, there were quite a few very weak individuals at the position. But it was the steroid, the power of the EU that actually worked through them. And this is why it was easy to convince young people to work in the domain. This is why it was easy to push your colleagues, ministers, to do what sometimes they believed was difficult and painful and costly. We lost some of the EU magic. And I really regret this, because this is the time that the Western Balkans has needed that element. We were, unfortunately, always dealing with a double trouble. In the past, when the Western Balkans was prepared for enlargement, certain EU member states were not really eager, and vice versa. When the EU had the will, we did not have the means nor the arguments. Now we have two different, in my view, two different double troubles. On one side, it's the double trouble of the EU. Even with the renewed interest towards enlargement because of the person in Kremlin who decided to burn all the bridges and pushed enlargement again into a geopolitical mode, EU struggles, or at least some of the colleagues that we are meeting, they say on one side it's the institutional reform that is necessary prior to enlargement. On the other side, there are the budgetary constraints that you have to calculate. And we can understand that. But on the other side, there is also the double trouble within the region. And this is the double trouble of wishing to guess, is this enlargement mood going to stay, or will it disappear in a year or two? And the second one is, will it be geopolitical? So if it's geopolitical, let's just wait and see, you know? Or do we have to transform? Do we need to engage in difficult and painful internal reforms? Or do we need to fear our neighbors blocking the process? And I think that the case of North Macedonia is not overly positive one. And I do believe that even when you analyze the enlargement towards Eastern Europe, what happened and happens in Western Balkans will resonate in Ukraine and in Moldova and hopefully even Georgia. And if you see the case of North Macedonia going through a painful, very costly, politically very costly, risky change of the constitution and its name, just to be stopped first because of a French hesitation and then because of a Bulgarian veto, it's not really a reassuring sign. So people say, why should we have opened our markets 2 decades ago, actually. But why should we engage in, let's say, post office reform? Why should we engage in significant reforms of the administration and the institutions if, on the next curve, Bulgaria puts yet another veto? And this is, I think, the dilemma that the Western Balkans, its friends, and the European Union should tackle so that enlargement becomes geopolitical and hopefully transformational as well.
Okay, so part of the problem is the lack of the vision from the European side, of the side of the European Union. We'll come back to that. But let us move on. After the downfall of Slobodan Milošević, you, Mr. Boris Tadić, assumed various roles in the Serbia's government, serving as Minister of Telecommunications and later as Minister of Defense, and just before being elected the President of the Republic of Serbia in 2004 again, so everything happens in 2004. Serbia, positioned as a pivotal state at the heart of the region, faces the challenge of navigating its relations with multiple global players, I would say. While negotiating with the EU, Serbia also maintains strong partnership with Russia and increasingly with China. Now, given these complex dynamics, what is the European perspective of Serbia today, and where do you envision its future in Europe?
I don't know. Frankly speaking, I really don't know. If you're asking current president of Serbia whether our strategic interest is to become member state of European Union, I'm not sure. If he's going to be honest, I'm not sure what is going to be his answer. I mean, I was following carefully what Radmila has been explaining about Macedonia. I'm not saying North Macedonia, but Macedonia. Maybe you have to do that, but we are from the former Yugoslavia, and the way how European Union has been treating Macedonia was disaster. Can you imagine that you are doing everything what is in accordance with the so-called instructions and requirements coming from European Union, even changing the name of the country, which means identity. And you are not offering, you are not doing what you promised. This is the easiest way to lose credibility. Now I'm coming to that issue. European Union lost credibility on the Western Balkans. And I fully agree with Radmila when she said it's not very attractive right now for the citizens of our countries to come to European Union like it was. A few days ago I was delivering my interview, and they started with the first question. That is 20 years after being elected as a president of Serbia. I was totally shocked. 20 years. 20 years after your fantastic result in that time. In 2004, when I was elected as a president of Serbia, you know, after assassination of Zoran Đinđić, after so many horrible things, 5 years after being bombed by NATO because of Kosovo involved in all conflicts, that was really hope. We didn't have alternative to that. And nowadays, 20 years after that, we have a different situation. When I used to be president, we had almost 70% of people that supported European Union integrations. Do you know how many people are right now supporting? 42. In that time, we had 38% of people that supported membership in the NATO. Only 5 years after bombing, when I used to be Minister of Defense, that was triggering as idea. I wanted to see whole region integrated in the NATO. Do you know how many people are supporting right now after everything what happened with Kosovo? And 6%. Is it creating dramatic changes? Yes, of course. This is huge outcome into the deep society structure. And if you're asking me what to do right now, I'm still on European Union agenda. But to be very frank with you, on the last elections, my party, we couldn't put on the top of our agenda European Union membership. Whoever is doing that is going to lose elections. This is a very strange situation. This is not very popular. And now we are coming to the vision and strategy of European Union. Look, European Union in past few decades. Look, I mean, Radmila has been mentioning negotiations with Turkey. Where are the borders and the interests of European Union? Is European Union only Christian community? Or European Union has to take into consideration also other religious aspects? This is a very important issue. This is a strategic issue. What about Turkey nowadays? In Turkey, no one is really thinking that they are going to become a member state of European Union. That is the outcome of Sarkozy and Angela Merkel leadership in European Union. They've said clearly, no way. But Turkey is 80 million people. If Turkey is not somehow integrated into the European Union structure and partnership, Turkey can become a real threat for Europe. Nowadays, Turkey is led by informal leader of Muslim Brothers. What about Europeanization of Turkey? What about something that Europe needs behind of the border of European Union nowadays? Question, good question. What about Ukraine? Is European Union able to define its own policy regarding Ukraine nowadays? No. European Union is just following agenda of United States. Is it bringing us in a situation to believe that Europe is able to define its own strategy, vision, and to be global player? No. Not anymore, unfortunately, not anymore. Things are rapidly changing, and this is a critical moment regarding future of European Union. I think that we don't have leaders in Europe anymore like it was. Visionaries, brave people to define really interests. The way how European Union has been treating Turkey, integration of the Western Balkans, and finally Ukraine is really something which is not bringing us a situation to believe that Europe is able to be one of the main global players. But I said I'm still on that agenda because we don't have alternative. I mean, we don't have alternative. Russia is not alternative for Serbia. That is going to be disaster if Russia is going to increase its own influence in Serbia. But nowadays, because of cultural ties, because of many emotions, I don't know why, historically speaking, because many people in Serbia truly believe that Russia was always supporting Serbia, which is not the truth. First of all, Russia was the first country which recognized independence of Croatia. In Serbia, no one is aware about that, for example. They were selling a weapon during the war in the former Yugoslavia, in Croatia. Nobody is aware about that. But okay, people are not very well educated right now. And they truly believe that Russia was a friend of Serbia. But if Russia is alternative, we are in the horrible situation. What about Europe? Is European Union really alternative nowadays? I'm not sure. What about China? China is increasing influence on the Western Balkans. And now I'm going to finish my first statements with my experience. When I used to be president in 2008, my American friends and officials from State Department and from the White House came to me by saying, we are going to push Kosovo independence. I told them, okay, you are going to do that. You are going to do that unilaterally, but that is going to be game changer in a global arena. I mean, you are violating territorial integrity of a country which is member state of United Nations. They said, yeah, what you can do? I said, I cannot do something, but you are going to violate your own interests in the future. Next is going to be Ukraine. They said, no way. I failed. Next was Georgia. Now is Ukraine. And I'm not sure that United States and the Western world can find a strategy from the situation in which the Western countries brought themselves by doing such things. Violating international law, violating policy of the standards, violating rules that are existing after the Second World War. I'm not saying that we don't have a responsibility for everything what happened regarding Kosovo and such things. I have a very specific opinion on that issue. But I'm saying that the Western world wasn't able to understand the importance of strategical moment. They failed. They failed also after that in Ukraine, because I'm very unpleasant witness about what happened in Ukraine. Because I was messenger by Yanukovych in terms of his intention to be closest partner of European Union. European Union leaders refused that intention. I was interlocutor. I'm unpleasant witness. That happened before Maidan, before war. And this is problem. This is really problem. I know what happened. Because Yanukovych was trying to escape from the Hague, from the pressure of Putin, because finally he felt this is not sustainable. But European Union leaders have said, no, no way. Yulia Tymoshenko is much more important than the future of Ukraine. Totally crazy. I couldn't understand what they are telling me. And in that time I saw they're not able to think strategically. I felt that during my term as a president of Serbia regarding Kosovo. I saw that regarding Ukraine. I saw that before regarding Turkey. And, okay, I was asking Aya, Borut, and my friend Igor Lavsh in these past few days in Baku, do you feel that you got something from European Union? All of you have said, yes, we have a better living standard, we are more secure, this is very good. But we don't feel that. We don't feel that anymore, that we would have a kind of benefit if we are going to join the European Union. But I'm still on that agenda, because I don't see alternative.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Pahor, you served as the Speaker of the National Assembly between 2000 and 2004. Now, in 2004, you transitioned to become a member of the European Parliament, and you later returned to Slovenia in 2008 to assume the role of the Prime Minister, and ultimately you were elected President in 2012. Now, reflecting on this trajectory, how do you recall the circumstances surrounding the Slovenia's entry into the EU, this big bang of 10 countries?
Yeah, let us go even before that. In 1989, for example, Kongresni trg, Tone Pavček, small, brief national program, 3 pillars, 1 democracy, 2 independent state, 3 common European family. So when we are now celebrating the 20th anniversary of our full membership to European Union, we should never forget that this amazing, beautiful European idea has been always in the heart of our democracy and our independent sovereign state. We should never forget it, because we should never neglect this beautiful idea, not just because of our national interest, but because of, I think, interest of all 27 countries or nations. And number 2, I think was a beautiful moment back there then in 2004. Once, maybe I should say then that when observing, a path to democracy, path to independent state, and path to European idea, maybe political class today should recognize the importance of party agreement at that time. Government, opposition, we have been sitting around the same table, debating all sensitive issues before, the law would go to the House to be voted on. So that was an amazing time, 15 years, a year before 1990, first democratic parliamentary election, then, sovereign state, war for independence, diplomatic recognition, 2004 entry to European Union. I think that was amazing time of Slovene politics, creative. Nevertheless, we have faced very different opinions on many issues, but that common sense, what is necessary for our future, has been there. We couldn't say at this very moment this is the case. And now, if I may say, I wouldn't think that 20 years later, only Croatia from the region would be a full member of European Union. This is a complete disappointment to me. And I devoted my term in office as Prime Minister and as a President to faster development of negotiations and all that stuff to finally, invite all countries in the region to become a full member of European idea. Let me briefly say maybe the most important message that I have today for this very debate. I think the good strategy would be a little bit different than it is now. From the Brussels point of view, it is geopolitical need of Brussels to go to the region. And that is why Brussels should say, listen, guys, in 2030, European Union will be prepared to invite you to become a full member. Let's do your job, we will do ours. In 2030, whoever will be ready will be a next member of European Union. And we should do together homework that the whole region at that time would be in European Union. I think if you are looking at the map, you see the whole there. The region is surrounded by countries, members of European Union, and the region is there waiting for 20 years now. Now, last thing I would like to say is as follows. In a way, thanks God, the enlargement process has become a little more geopolitical than it used to be before because of Ukraine. Ukraine, the aggression, the Russian aggression has changed the narrative back in Brussels. But at the same time, because of getting Ukraine and Moldova in the package, I think this could also mean that the process will go slower, because it is difficult to imagine that Brussels would say, okay, for Western Balkans, and would say, Ukraine, you should wait there. I'm not saying that that would not be definitely the case, but I'm afraid that this could be the case. So I would like to say, and that would be my last word, now we have a fantastic opportunity. We will elect a new House, we will elect a new Commission. It seems that there is once again, after 15 years of enlargement fatigue, once again a political will to go stronger with the enlargement process. So let us say, let us go through institutional and all other changes within EU. For me, it is very promising that at the end of November, House has voted on recommendation to call once again for the convention, and maybe, just maybe, the result of that convention would be once again a draft constitution. And we will be ready in 2030, and we will do utmost to help our friends in Western Balkans to be ready too. And sorry to say, Serbia is the most important country. I think if Serbia would opt for the Russian side, that would be the prolongation of instability in the region, no matter if other countries would become a member of European Union. So I don't have a very straight answer to the question how to deal with Serbia, with President Vučić and his government at this very moment, because of several circumstances that everybody here knows very well. But basically, at the end of the day, I cannot imagine to have the region in the EU and Serbia out of it in the sphere of interest of Russia. So this is kind of very, very sensitive issue. At the end of the day, I would say, let us do whatever it takes to inspire Serbia to be with us and not against us.
Thank you, but still I have to continue with you because of the poster behind you. You are a definite Slovenian political superstar who decided now to leverage experience and influence to the Western Balkans and actually help it access European Union somehow. Now, how do you intend to do it? What is your vision in that perspective?
As I said, I think the homework goes for Brussels and for countries in the region. My intention is to invite countries in the region to think a little bit more friendly about each other on the way to the Brussels. Not to be competitive against each other, but to work together. I think that is the promising way to go. Not to compete who will be faster, because I think nobody will be faster than other. I'm pretty sure, I would bet at this very moment, there will be a package solution. There will be a package solution, as it has been back in 2004. So let us help each other with experiences, with wisdom, with you know, inspiration, whatever, because if Serbia will go well, North Macedonia will go well. Bosnia is finally going on. So there is a moment of optimism in the air. Let us take this optimism and prepare not just political elites, but also civil societies. And one suggestion of this Friends of Western Union will be to go on with the idea of Western Balkans Economic Community. So to a little bit, you know, invite everybody to work also on this. Well, Open Balkan was an initiative, but has been blocked. Berlin process is extremely important, but it's there, doesn't move. So let us think how to go on all together, Brussels and countries in the region, and working with the people,
Thank you. I must say that it looks like the Chinese proverb, you may live in interesting times, is actually cursing us. We live in interesting times, but not only regionally, but globally at the moment. And Ms. Šekerinska, I would like you to ask the following question. Now, in 2024 will be a super electoral year globally. There is at least 64 countries which will hold elections. 4.2 billion people will go to elections. And while elections traditionally evoke celebrations and a sense of goodwill, the prevailing sentiment among commentators these days is one of concern. Now, how do you evaluate the global scenario of these elections, and what implications do you foresee for the Western Balkans?
Well, that's not the $1 million. That would be a $1 billion question to guess the EU turn, but also the US elections. And I remember the various discussions that took place this year at the Munich Security Conference. There were times when it was pessimistic and gloomy, but what I really appreciated were several European leaders, politicians, officials, who said, listen, let's not focus so much on US elections. Let us deal with what we can do to make things better. Because this kind of blame game, which has been going on between the EU and the Western Balkans, I think it has transferred to global scene. You know, we are worried about the prospects of, US elections, and they are worried about what happens in different dangerous parts of the world. Let us first take care of our own house. And when I'm in Ljubljana, of course, I do talk about, the interaction between the EU and the Balkans. When I'm at home, I don't dwell on your challenges. I dwell on our challenges and how to improve them. And to a certain extent, Macedonia has joined this global trend. We are having double elections this year, presidential and parliamentary. And I don't have too many good news, unfortunately. As I said, we have changed the constitution. We have changed our constitutional name. It did not come without a price tag. But I think that our example shows that you can sometimes take bold moves because you do have a certain vision, and in a certain way, not commit a political suicide. Because in 2020, we entered an election cycle after dealing with what I call the Macedonian Bermuda Triangle. There was a rule in 30 years of Macedonia's independence that there are 3 issues where you can kill yourself politically: relations with Greece, relations with Bulgaria, and internal relations between ethnic Macedonians and ethnic Albanians. The common knowledge was, try not to deal with these issues, because regardless of what you do, you'll end up dead. The government elected in 2017, after a very difficult political crisis, actually dealt with 3 of them at once. And in 2019, we won the presidential elections, and in 2020, we won the parliamentary elections. So it is not inconceivable to do the right thing and still convince the public that you're leading them in the right manner. Apropos polls and opinion, I just heard it in Belgrade, this huge discrepancy between years ago vis-a-vis NATO and now. The same thing happened in North Macedonia years ago with regards to the question, should we make a compromise with Greece? Like 10% would say yes. So theoretically, this is not what you would do. But even after signing the agreement and changing the constitution, in spite of a still strong resistance and criticism, we're still being called traitors. There is a very strong nationalistic drive as well. The middle ground actually said, enough is enough. Let's move forward. And the package that we have promised them, not with our words, but with the words of von der Leyen, with the words of Angela Merkel, even Macron, they all either came to Skopje or send a certain kind of political endorsement. I remember when we had a meeting with the then Chancellor Angela Merkel, she said that they had a joke in Berlin. If you look for a German minister, probably they're in Skopje, you know, because, and they were saying what used to be the political mainstream. If you solve the problem, you start accession talks, period. Not because North Macedonia was just expected to solve this, but because in the 2 years prior to the Prespa agreement implementation, we really dealt with our own internal deficiencies. North Macedonia is one of the few countries in the world that has excelled in media freedoms consistently since 2017. We have improved the political situation, the situation in the administration. So it was a picture perfect. So when someone asks, how do we deal with Serbia? I'm not the one that should come up with advices, but I do recall the first lesson I learned when my daughter turned teenager. It's not what you tell them, it's how you behave, right? Kids do not follow our words and our advice and our criticism, but our actions. So I do believe that the strongest U-turn for the EU with regards to Serbia was dealing with North Macedonia the right way, absolutely, as President Pahor said. So basically, back into 2019, 2020, the EU sent a very quiet, it wasn't a very loud message, but it was well heard. You know, to Bosnia, to Kosovo, to Serbia, even to Montenegro. You know, we might come up with certain commitments, but don't bet your life on them. And this had a very, very damaging effect, because then the story was turned upside down. You know, the story that most autocrats and populists repeat these days is, look at North Macedonia. They have done everything humanly possible. Did the EU deliver? No. So why should we bother? And that's the vicious, the vicious circle that we are now in. And this is why I do believe that when it comes to vision and strategy, it has to be followed by action. In our case, I think this has happened. This is why our power, the power of pro-European forces, has weakened. So now, even when the EU is ready, you know, question is how ready will the region be? And that's what I called the double trouble. We are not creating the, let's say, the perfect bonanza. We are creating the perfect storm, unfortunately.
But just a couple of sentences. I think the time has come for Brussels to say, it is not just you would like to become members of EU. It's our wish, it's our political will, it's our decision that we want you to be the part of European Union. And that would change the narrative of enlargement, would be less technical process, would be much more political process. The time is running out. I don't want that in 5 or 7 or 10 years somebody would say, oh my God, we've just, you know, made all things too slowly, the process. I think we should speed a little bit the process because things are going on. There is Russia, in a way, China definitely, in a way, there is Turkey. If Brussels would like to be there, should do something bold. Also on Brussels side, not just on the Western Balkan side.
One of the stories of the European Union, of the positive side of the European Union story, was that it has brought peace to Europe. And if you look backwards, it looks nice for members, but not necessarily for those who are on the edge of the European Union. Mr. Tadić, you were born in Sarajevo. We know that war in Bosnia was going on for 4 years. Now the war in Ukraine has entered the 3rd year. So we are witnessing a certain permanent instability, which is affecting also our region. So what would be your assessment? How do you see this unfolding, and what are your expectations in that regard? War in Ukraine and the behavior of the European Union in that context.
unmatured and is a reaction of European Union. There is no European policy regarding war in Ukraine. Ukraine is a European country, but European Union is just following agenda of United States. And this is a disaster not only for Ukrainian people, but also for Europe in the long-term process. I'm extremely sad about what happened in Ukraine. I mean, this is a horrible war. We are, so many people are dying every day. But if we are talking with the Russians and the people that are closer to Russia, and at the same time, the Baltic countries and Americans, they have a totally different vision about what can be, I mean, final agreement regarding Ukraine. First of all, the main problem is that no one is even able right now, brave enough to say that can be possible agreement. Once that was Henry Kissinger and Professor McSheimer, they said something and they were attacked immediately. And this is disaster. Who is going to be brave to say, let's make a compromise? No compromise. No compromise. If there is no compromise, there is no the end of war. And nowadays, people are thinking, okay, I was talking with some ministers of defense from the Baltic countries. They said, we are going to conquer Kremlin. Kremlin? Yes, we are going to celebrate our victory in Kremlin. I was totally shocked. Also, if we are talking with the Russians, we are going to conquer Odessa and to make territorial connections with the Predstavništva. It's a disaster which is going to break the access to the Black Sea of Ukraine, and that is going to be a game changer in a global arena. But we are living in this reality. We are not close to the end of the war. Whoever is mentioning possible solution he's immediately under threat and attack. To be very frank with you, on the international forums, I was trying to open that issue a few times. I'm not insisting anymore. Do you know why? Because I have to explain simple things, that only compromise can be solution. If we are fighting country, which is one of the main global nuclear power, having Kinjal and Sarmat is a nuclear missile which can hit every United States city going through southern hemisphere, which is not defended. What we are talking about? Which kind of compromise, which kind of solution in which those people are thinking that we can enter in the Kremlin easily and to conquer Moscow. This is totally crazy situation. I hope that in next 1-2 years we are going to mature all together and to start to think about possible solution nowadays. Let me say also the European agenda. Borut have said Europe has to offer something to the Western Balkans in order to encourage process of integrations. But I mean, the European Union is approaching to Serbia. Serbia is a significant country, not most important anymore, but significant country. Every country is able to make troubles on the Western Balkans. But coming to that, only if we are making troubles, we are becoming important for European Union. This is crystal clear lesson we got. If we are making troubles, we are becoming important. If we are not making troubles, we are less important, and we are not on the agenda of integration. But Madam von Leyen came a few months ago in Serbia and Belgrade by saying what she expects from Serbia regarding Kosovo. She said, I'm expecting implicit recognition of Kosovo independence. She cannot understand that she's humiliating Serbian people by saying this. And she's expecting that Serbia is going to continue process of negotiations. She's humiliating us, and she's expecting that we are going to continue process of integrations. No way. If she's expecting that Alexander Vučić, even though he was much more flexible regarding Kosovo than me, because I'm saying because of my convictions regarding Kosovo, but regarding European Union interests, regarding global policy, that was my position. I can explain that for the discussion. But even though Vučić was very flexible, Brussels agreement, Ohrid's agreement, Washington's agreement, she thinks that Vučić is able to recognize Kosovo independence. Whoever is going to do that is going to be in an extremely dangerous situation. And this is not the first time that we've been facing with assassination of our leaders. I mean, we are champions in that, unfortunately. Unfortunately. But this is a situation we are facing with. European Union leaders has to be aware with whom they are talking. I mean, when I'm talking about Macedonia, I know the problems. I was trying to explain to my people in Serbia that we have to be their best friend. We had a problem regarding church. That was, I mean, problem that we were able to solve. But Macedonia is facing with the problem with Albanians, with the Greece, with the Bulgaria, and finally with the Serbia. Why with Serbia? And we try to do that. You don't have many problems. You've been facing with the problem with Croatia regarding borders.
Yeah, but before, that was not an issue for us to join.
No, I truly
Croatia,
remember.
yes,
I truly remember what happened with that. And I'm remembering when the voices from Slovenia and Croatia came to Serbia by saying, why Kosovo is that important for you, for Serbia? This is an ended story. But when I saw that for you was a much more important dialogue regarding Piran's, the area and that access to the open sea, I started to explain to you, was that much more important for you than Kosovo for Serbia, which is the origin of our country? I mean, let's try to show empathy and to understand others. To understand others. Bosnia and Herzegovina, so complicated. I'm totally against partition of Bosnia and Herzegovina. But they're treating me in Serbia, even now, because of that, as a kind of traitor.
Boris, exactly because of that very reason, I am in favor of package approach to the enlargement. Because, yes, we would import some problems, but that would be, sustainable. Having Serbia, because of Kosovo, out wouldn't be very sustainable for the peace and security. But let me ask you, as your friend, one question. I would like to ask you for an advice. We would like to have Serbia in European Union. We would like to do whatever it takes to inspire the reforms and negotiations and then the final yes at your referendum. How should we deal with your government? How should we deal with President Vučić? You, in a way, are pro-European, but on the other side, you are against the government. What would be your advice? Because this is a dilemma among European leaders.
But, I mean, European leaders they created such a dilemma. They supported Vučić and his party on the last presidential elections against me, because I was totally strict regarding Kosovo. I was trying to make compromise. They didn't want to compromise on Kosovo. And they wanted Serbia to recognize Kosovo independence. And Vučić and Nikolić have said to them, we can do that easier than Boris Tadić because he's treated as a traitor, we are patriots and nationalists. Okay, they were naive. And they supported them. And right now, they don't know what to do. And they are paying price because of that. What can I suggest to you? I mean, if someone truly believes that Vučić is going to be on European agenda until the end of his term, he's very much naive. If those people are thinking that Vučić is going to be on pro-Russian agenda, also they are very much naive. This is multi-vector.
Sorry, Boris, but that would mean we would pushing out.
Well, I will try to explain to you. But I mean the European Union has to stop and to analyze the situation, what they can do. If European leaders are thinking, okay, you can impose something to Serbia, it's not functioning anymore. It's not functioning anymore. Even though Serbian people are going to be aware that we cannot become member state of European Union, they don't care about that anymore. They don't care about that anymore. I'm sure that in Macedonia is a little bit different situation, but in Serbia is a dead situation right now. I said to you, I wasn't able to put on the top of my agenda during the elections European Union membership. That was a crystal clear that we are going to lose elections if we are going to do that. In that context, whoever is coming from European Union by saying, you have to do that, it's totally crazy. We don't have to do this. The situation is totally different. Totally different. And
how to change it? How to change it?
To change and to stop with such agenda and to start to analyze a possible compromise. If Serbia is going to lose everything on Kosovo and Albanians on Kosovo are going to get everything, Serbia is going to be a sick country that can create many problems in the future, and frustrated country. I do not want to see such a country, my country, in the Western Balkans. We have to achieve compromise and to find sustainable solution. This is possible. This is possible if we are able to think about sustainable and innovative solutions.
Would be okay for Serbia to be member of European Union at the same time Kosovo would be, but not be recognized diplomatically from your side?
No, we have to find solution for our common problem with Kosovo Albanians. This is very important. Okay, Serbia is going to be a member state of European Union and Kosovo is going to be a member state of European, which means we recognize Kosovo independence.
You have 5 countries in EU that do not recognize Kosovo.
But this is crystal clear, right? Now, during my term, no one was saying you have to recognize Kosovo independence. They said you have to find a comprehensive, sustainable solution. That was the definition. Now they say, some of them are saying you have to recognize Kosovo independence. Some of them are saying you have to recognize implicitly independence of Kosovo. This is totally unacceptable. Vučić cannot win elections with that agenda anymore. No one is going to win on the elections with such agenda. What I'm suggesting to you, to open dialogue in European Union about Kosovo and to reset policy regarding Kosovo and to think once again about policy regarding Ukraine, about all those contexts and to be more visionary and to understand what is the role of European Union. I'm not sure that European Union leaders are able to think about that. I don't see intellectuals in European Union that are able to open such questions and to think freely about such important and difficult questions. I'm Boris Tadić. When I was 10 years old, my father approached me by saying we are Yugoslavs and Europeans. He never said I'm Serb. I was growing up with that agenda. I was growing up with that kind of identity. And nowadays I'm saying this openly to you. We are facing with a problem. I'm very sad, but I'm very much concerned about further development, and because I don't see really strategy within European Union regarding its own interests, regarding Western Balkans, regarding Ukraine, regarding Georgia. I don't see that.
Well, this is exactly.
Sorry I'm not pessimist. I'm skeptical.
No.
I'm skeptical.
This is exactly the mission of our friends of Western Balkans. You both are on advisory board. Thank you so very much.
This is why I came.
Yes, that is true. To maybe to think, as you said, and to maybe think about also solutions out of the box, and to propose them to.
I think that we will need solutions outside of the box because, as I'm listening to you, it's obvious that 20 years after the Big Bang, Europe, the European Union, is becoming less attractive to citizens of the countries of the Western Balkans than it used to be 20 years ago. But last question to you all, and then I'll open the floor for others to ask questions as well. We are entering the period of European elections. It looks like the new Commission is not going to be very different from the one we have now, which means that we are expecting changes without changing anything. So what are your expectations from the new Commission whenever it's formed? We can start now with Boris, okay.
Expect the unexpected. There is one issue, maybe not so much related to the new Commission, but to enlargement also. There has been a lot of talk. In the last 2 years, I have participated at 10 different conferences or meetings with regards to new methodologies the officially new methodology and then the unofficial proposals. We were together with President Pahor in Belgrade, staged, assisted, deepened integration. And you know, I really think that we are missing the point. If I can go back to the old saying that if you want something not done, create a commission, I do have this feeling that if you don't want to see enlargement a reality, you do start discussions about new methodology. And this is really harming the process. It is harming the hopes, and I really believe that what we have destroyed in the course of the last 20 years is the hope. Not the expectations, but the hope. And this is why we are not so constructive as we used to be. So I believe, I do believe that we should think outside of the box. And I do think that institutional adjustments should be made. I mean, this is not the EU of 20 years ago. This is not the world of 20 years ago. But to put the discussion there is, I think, completely off the beat. There was a saying at one of the many conferences, an expert in EU affairs, he said, listen, the process that was there for Central and Eastern Europe is no longer, that door has closed. So you have to think of a new process. And I can agree with that. We have all learned to be also pragmatic. You know, what is not feasible is not feasible. The fact that I dislike the reality will not change it. So we are trained to be practical and pragmatic. But in order to change what is not working, I have to know what is wrong with the previous practice. If the small changes in, well, decision-making are not small changes, but if the small changes of whether we call chapters clusters and how they're, that's not policy. That's technicality. And I actually like the new technicalities, but the problem is that the fear in the Balkans and also the comments in Brussels and especially in certain member states are not that the methodology was their issue. The problem is, what's the end game? If we don't have the end game, if we don't agree on the end game, and if we don't trust the end game, whatever train you enter, you end up in the wrong station. So I believe that EU has to reinstate its commitment. And I don't believe that the statement of belonging to a family is enough. I have heard it for 30 years. And also we do come from a region where families are extended. So you can have the third cousin and know his or her name. No, when we talk about a European family, we talk about the people who are at the table and whose vote count. So this is why I very strongly support what President Pahor said. Stating the end goal of, let's say, 2030, EU being prepared for membership, will not be a promise that we in the Western Balkans can put in our pockets and then go enjoy an 8-year-long holiday. No, it should be an offer, but without an attachment to a concrete commitment. It looks like the old words, and they have lost their meaning. I actually went back to reading some of Chaillot's papers from the previous enlargement, and I was shocked. For us in this part of the Balkans, we believe that Eastern enlargement, Eastern and Central Europe enlargement was just a done deal, that it was a paved way for you and you were just expected to follow the line. When you go through the Council conclusions in 1998, in 1999, it wasn't like this. It was the Yugoslav wars first and then the Kosovo, the fear of war in Europe that pushed enlargement in hyperspeed. So we have that now. The other commitment, and this comes from really experts that have participated in the enlargement, is that if you don't have a time frame, the conditionality doesn't work. Regardless of what happens with enlargement, I will be a citizen of North Macedonia. I would like to see some of these reforms done even without enlargement. But I know that status quo forces are very strong. We need to empower those to who reject these kinds of forces and who move forward. So I do believe that without this kind of a game changer, we will continue the blame game and we won't see a breakthrough. Breakthroughs will be difficult and probably we will have ups and downs, but the Western Balkan countries, if given the commitment, you have to be prepared in order for, you know, a membership 2030, you have to be prepared by 2027. If you are doing the right things, like the two groups that were created in the previous enlargement, Bulgaria and Romania didn't do it, didn't make it. Slovenia did. So it won't be a competition of who is not doing enough. It will be a competition that we can do better. And on the pragmatic side, I agree with you. I cannot foresee a French referendum on North Macedonia's accession to the EU. But I can foresee, you know, French saying yes to, you know, a groupthink. And this, in a way, you know, Serbia can help others by having more of a French interest. Others can help Serbia by, you know, convincing, let's say, Baltic states. And this is the dynamics that can create some value. And this is what, as friends of Europe in the Western Balkans, this is what we advocate for.
So, Mr. Tadić, do you expect more political will on the side of the EU with the new Commission, understanding that enlargement is not a technical issue?
No, I'm not expecting that right now. And but frankly speaking, we are living in a totally unpredictable world. We've been always living in more or less unpredictable world, but now the world is totally unpredictable, which means maybe new Commission is going to do something to inspire all of us and to wake up with a new energy strategy and visions. But I don't know. This is very much depend on elections within European Union countries. Many people were afraid about results of Italian elections, but even though they have a very specific government, some Italians are saying this is fascist government, which is not. But they have a kind of sentiments. But the way how they are doing right now is not that bad like they expected. What can be in other countries? Look at Germany. And SPD is not anymore second biggest and the important party in Germany. The situation is very difficult, specifically because of German influence. What about elections in France? I see that Macron is pointing out very strange statements because of elections. One of them was to send troops in Ukraine, which is disaster. Outcome of that was a Putin reaction that they are able to use a nuclear weapon. Which is even more disaster. And but what about Mélenchon and Marine Le Pen? If they are going to compete in the second round, what about Europe in that context? We don't know. Things are totally unpredictable, which is fantastic for intellectuals. I mean, to analyze situation, for writers, for people from the art, but for the people that have a responsibility to deliver, this is disaster, really disaster. Maybe that is telling me to go to be writer, not politician anymore. But this is a situation in which we are living. We'll see. We'll see. Finally, we are going to see that. So many things depend on each other. War in Ukraine is creating huge influence on situation in other European countries. In that context, nobody is able even to understand what about Russia in the future. Russia is the European Union, by following a United States policy of putting Russia far away from them. If Russia is far away from them, Russia is going to be even more unpredictable, even more dangerous. After, I hope, solving problem in Ukraine, if Russia is going to be that far from Europe, we are going to be faced with the new threats and the new challenges. One war can be ended, but ended war can trigger new war. I mean, many people are thinking that First World War never ended. That Second World War was only continuation of this war. Nowadays, I consider that true. This is the situation in which we are living. We'll see. But, I mean, we, pro-Europeans, we cannot give up. We have to fight to continue our efforts. But I have to be skeptical and to share my views and thoughts with you in order to understand better your neighbors, to understand where we are living all together. If Serbia is not going to be integrated in the European Union, which is possible, there is no empty cell, there is no empty space in politics, neither in the human body nor in politics. Some other players are going to come. Who? Russia, Turkey, or China. This is disaster for Serbia, but I think this is very bad even for Slovenia.
Okay, Mr. Pahor, you are a known optimist. So
Yes.
how
And
can you be optimist in the middle of all this?
I am truly optimistic.
Let us explain.
I don't know
based on
what the signal will give us the upcoming European elections, but nevertheless, I think the Commission will do whatever it takes to understand and follow the changing geopolitical situation. We do have war in north, in Ukraine. We have conflict down in the Middle East. Western Balkans is in the middle. I think it will become clear to everybody in Brussels and in 27 states. The main purpose of European Union is to be in peace, to be secure. That black hole on the map, Western Balkans, not being a member of EU, I mean, that is a reason for concerns. That is the reason for, to take some action. So that is why I'm optimistic then, because circumstances will push the Commission to do whatever it takes to maintain peace and stability and security, and the only way to do that is to go with the enlargement to the Western Balkans. Okay? Okay.
I will open the floor now for questions, please. Yeah.
Can I ask for one more espresso, please?
We've been with Boris. With Boris, we have been 9 hours on the plane.
I'm always in the plane.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So no sleeping at all. Okay.
If you allow me just a very short reaction. First, espresso is on its way. And just allow me, I need to shortly react because I understand that you are still an optimist. But thank you very much, President Pahor, for being even a bigger optimist. But I've heard some things about, lack of strategy, vision, political messages from Brussels. And I do need to react on behalf of the European Commission. I agree with all, or let's put it like that. I don't agree with all the frustrations, but I hear all the frustrations, and I not only hear, and I feel strongly with you. I have to say that, but I would say that things are changing. You said, what is the end game? I think from the side of the European Commission, it's clear what is the end game. We have not publicly said that this is 2030. The European Council said that, but we do want to see all the countries from the Western Balkans in the European Union. So this is for us, it's clear. Now, how to get there? If you are looking at the previous president of the European Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker, he said, enlargement, no way now, no way during our mandate. Things are changing now. If you look at Grenada, what happened in autumn last year, enlargement is one of the points on the European Council strategic agenda for next year. And I really believe that the elephant has left the room, so this is going to be there. Now, it is, as said, the end date. It's probably debatable, but definitely for me personally, it is the path is clear. And also what we said, we would like to change what was done with the big bang enlargement. The first enlargement happened and then we had to adjust. We said now we're doing it the other way around. So that's why we had the growth plan. So we're trying to integrate all the countries with the single market in the Western Balkans and then go to the next stage. But I admit, we do need constructive solutions for thinking out of the box. These are complex issues. You have mentioned Piran Bay. And this is a small issue, but still it's an issue. So here all the proactive approach, to the pro-European approach that we can get from the Western Balkan countries is going to help the European Union to come to the end game as we would like to achieve. And the concrete plan for this year already to change the institutions, to rethink how the EU can change, not only to give the tasks to Western Balkans countries, it is there, the very clear path and plan. So I'm even a bigger optimist than President Pahor, so I hope that it is going to happen, hopefully maybe in the next mandate of the Commission.
Any reaction? Yes, please.
I fully agree with you, but I was very careful listening to you. The end game is very clear for the European Commission. If I've heard that, I would have heard this back in 2002, 3, 4. You know, we were in this idealistic, naive phase in which the Commission was much stronger. But even then, we knew the European Commission is the candidate country best friend. Then you have, not the Council, but you have member states. The problem with this is that the European Commission has been clear about the end game since 2002, 2003, Thessaloniki summit and everything. When we, I think it's the 20th anniversary, this year is the 20th anniversary of our application for membership. And I remember going to Brussels with, I don't know, tens of thousands of pages of answers to the difficult European Commission questions. And Mr. Solana, who was then the EU official in charge of the region and enlargement, he said, "Oh, this is the longest love letter in history." And it was a nice, very emotional period. It suited the mood. 20 years waiting for your love affair to end in marriage, as a colleague of ours says, too much. So the problem is that every time there is a clear consent statement from the Commission, there is a member state creating a problem. I do believe that the real mistake, not only with regards to us, but with regards to enlargement, was not only the Bulgarian de facto veto on North Macedonia, but the fact that the European Union has accepted that the veto will become more or less institutionalized, put in a European framework, and I think this is the biggest faux pas, that our process is now very much dependent not on our relations with Bulgaria. I think it's understandable. Croatia depended on the relations with Slovenia. Other countries have depended. The problem is that our European path can be destroyed because of a different reading of history and a disagreement between 7 historians / diplomats / whatever, experts. And the EU did not say, okay, we will at least have Europeans on the table. This was our appeal. Yes, this is a bilateral problem, but this bilateral problem has become a European event because we don't negotiate with just our neighbor. We negotiate with our neighbor that has the political muscle of the EU. And this was, I think, a lost opportunity. This is, I also think, yet another precedent that will be abused in the future, because this is what's wrong with precedents. They're always abused in the future.
Please, Mr.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Peter Gerg, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Very interesting debate. Thank you very much. I agree with 50 to 60% of what was said, but that's normal because we are talking about Western Balkans. You know, it's like every village has its own opinion about the Western Balkans. What I don't agree on is the following. I think the debate was held in a way that this blame game, which we said that we overpassed, is still here, you know, among us. If listening to Radmila, but especially to President Tadić, you know, it was still European Union didn't show the guidance, didn't show the leadership, didn't show the strategy, didn't show the geostrategic. I mean, we are basically talking about this for the last 20 years as I'm dealing with the Western Balkans and European Union issues, you know. European Union should do this, European Union didn't. Maybe it's true. In the past, I felt the same, that basically European Union was lacking the geostrategic vision, especially regarding the Western Balkans, which is a region of 16 million people. So, you know, this is like 2 Munichs and a half. So, you know, if you would have a political will, geostrategic sense, you could basically deal with the Western Balkan problem much earlier and not wait for 20 years. That's true. But now, and we have been talking about that, and I agree completely, we are living in an age of great transformation, of great geostrategical uncertainty. And the Western Balkans is not the most important region in the world right now. It's important also for European Union because of the things that President Tadić and also you said, but definitely as the things are going to develop, and we don't know in what direction they're going to go, there are bigger fishes to fry, definitely. But coming back, you could see that European Union, after the Russian aggression on Ukraine, showed some geostrategic wisdom. I couldn't say that it didn't. It offered membership to Ukraine, Georgia, and Moldova, which is a big, big step. If somebody told me that before the 24th of February, Ukraine is going to be on the pot of European Union, nobody would believe us. I hope Bosnia and Herzegovina is going to start negotiations. You know, the negotiations have been started with North Macedonia and Albania. I mean, North Macedonia has problems which I hope they're going to be overcome after the next elections. So there is a change of momentum. You know, there is some kind of strategic outlook that European Union is doing. So I think we should also talk, and we didn't talk a lot, so it would be nice to hear also from both of you regarding the political elites in the Western Balkans. Because, you know, the question is right now, let's take Montenegro, let's take Albania. What is preventing Albania and Montenegro to fulfill in the next 4 to 5 years all the criteria to become member states of EU? I mean, there is no political issues. They don't have any real problems with the neighbors. They have more or less stable governments with problems, but, you know, all the political elites have problems in their own countries. So what is preventing, since European Union open negotiations said, you know, this is the criteria, 23, 24, what is preventing these countries to actually be ready in 2030 to become members of European Union? Even North Macedonia, if you're going to solve this problem. Thank you.
Short answers, because we have a couple of minutes left.
I fully agree with you. You said you agree with the 50%. So I fully agree with you that Western Balkans is not the most important issue in global arena. That's true. But outcome of that.
Yeah, but who thought that Sarajevo was the most important place in the world in 2015?
Exactly. Exactly. That is exactly the point that I would like to come. And okay, outcome of that can be, okay, we are not most important, and we are not. But we can be, once again. Why? Because if we are not going to be integrated in the European Union, I'm talking about Serbia, we can imagine that in the Southern Europe we are going to have a next Kaliningrad. If that is going to be the case, we are going to be most important issue in global arena. But this is possible to imagine. You know? Let's think out of box. Everything is possible. Nowadays, everything is possible. Just to mention something. Few weeks before elections in the United States, Trump and Hillary Clinton, only one person in State Department told me Trump is going to win. All others ignored it by saying, no way. 7 days before a referendum in Great Britain about Brexit, I was participating on the advisory board of one international bank. Interesting group of people. Igor Ivanov from Russia. Javier Solana from Spain, European Union and NATO. Alexander Kwasniewski from Poland. Romano Prodi, Joschka Fischer and me. All of them have said, no way, no Brexit. 7 days before. 7 days before. Things are totally unpredictable. What we cannot predict today that is going to happen in the next 7 days. This is what I'm asking myself. And things are so dangerous. Whoever is following agenda of European Union, approaching to that in the, let's say, normal way, we can say, yes, of course, Western Balkans is not very important. Not that important, but we are a little bit twisted, you know. We are always able to make history and to produce more history than we can consume. But who is going to consume history we are producing? This is the question. Who? European Union. Europe is going to consume that history like it was. And I'm afraid that is going to be once again. I'm not saying that we are able to do that like it was, but things are totally unpredictable. Agenda 2030. Okay, I'm running elections today, tomorrow, and I'm coming. To 2030, we are going to become member state of European Union. What is going to be reaction of the ordinary people? Boris, are you crazy? 2030. But realistically, this is first date we can be member state of European Union. But we've been growing up all together, generations and generations, after defeating Milosevic 2000, when we took extremely high risk on our shoulders for our own lives. You know, one of us lost his life. We thought in that time 2006, 2007. In 2006, 2007, we thought this is going to be 2012. 2012, we thought this is going to be 2018. Nowadays, to say 2030, ordinary people are going to say, are you joking? Who is going to follow that agenda? No way. Let's find an alternative to that. Okay, this is possible. We are going to pay price as a Serbia. Serbian people are going to pay price. But also Europe is going to pay price. Because of not having in mind strategic issue. This is why I'm saying only solution is to go out of box and to be very innovative in order to find solutions. Macedonia I was interlocutor with the Greek government at that time, going to Gruevski, offering to him 3 names: Vardarska Macedonia, Northern Macedonia. Papandreou was asking me to be helpful. I was talking with Gruevski. I don't know how many years ago, maybe 10 years. Yeah. What was Gruevski's reaction? No way. After many, many years, they accepted that. They paid the price for that, something like that. But okay. But I was interlocutor between Yanukovych and Cathy Ashton and European leaders. I failed in Macedonia. I failed in European Union in Ukraine. But we were able to save time and to do something earlier. But I'm afraid that in European Union, my friends are not going to understand how critical moment is nowadays we are facing with. It's a critical moment. It's a critical moment. This is now the time to find solution. But I don't see really, really innovative approaches to our challenges we are facing with. We have a kind of inertia. European leaders are lazy. They are not putting on the agenda possible innovative solutions. And unfortunately, also for Serbian citizens, European Union is not that important like it was. That is my...
Peter, those 40%, it is obvious that also the region has to do the job, the homework. When I was appealing to the Brussels, to the Commission, Council, to do their job more intensively, I didn't say, okay, now that the region could rest and wait.
Okay, final words
just,
now.
I have, maybe I wasn't clear enough. Blame game has been there, and it will continue. I think it will be worsened, actually. In my understanding, the EU has missed certain opportunities. but we have missed our opportunities as well. And as with every society here, including probably even Slovenian society, European societies, you do have a very divergent political elite, right? And the problem is that when the EU does not deliver, you weaken the pro-European forces. It has happened in Serbia, it has happened in North Macedonia, within all the political landscape. And I do believe that similarly to others, we don't have any more campaigns running on EU. And this diminishes the leverage of the EU. Finally, if there is one thing that could influence the process of enlargement is, of course, the commitment of the European Council, the commitment of the European Parliament, but also it will be interesting to watch who becomes the next enlargement commissioner. Because if you analyze different enlargement commissioners, you'll see that sometimes the Commission also sent the message by picking not only whether the person is committed to enlargement or not, but whether there is political weight given to the portfolio. And I think it will be, if there is one thing that I would like to see now for after the elections, that would be the pick. And then we will sense whether the enlargement change because of geopolitics, whether it is for real or whether it was just temporary.
Okay. The final optimist.
Look, if our fathers, political fathers, have made this beautiful European idea, I think it is our moral obligation to continue to do that for our children.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, our guests.
I should complain at the end. Listen, Boris Tadić, 2 coffees. Šekerinska, 1. Myself, member of European Union, no.
Okay. Thank you.